Captain Jake Morrison pressed his face against the cold glass of the observation window. The last human transport ship grew smaller and smaller until it disappeared into the darkness of space. Around him, the human embassy station felt empty and dead. All the voices were gone. All the laughter had stopped. Only Jake remained. 3 days ago, everything had been different. The Galactic Council chambers had been full of life. Aliens from 47 different worlds sat in their seats, talking and arguing about laws and trade deals. The human section had 25 delegates who worked hard to keep peace between the different species. Then came the message that changed everything. The Council had been watching humans for years. They saw how fast humans built new ships and weapons. They saw how humans spread to new planets and made friends with other species. Some Council members started to worry. They said humans were too dangerous. They said humans moved too fast and took too many risks. The worry turned into fear. The fear turned into action. Ambassador Lisa Hayes had been in her office when the official message arrived. She read it 3 times before she believed it. The Council wanted all human military ships to surrender. They wanted humans to give up their weapons and let the Council watch over them. They said it was for everyone's safety. Lisa called an emergency, meeting with all human leaders in Council space. Captain Morrison remembered that meeting well. 23 men and women sat around a table in the embassy conference room. They read the Council's demands in silence. "They want us to become prisoners," said Commander Bill Carter, his voice hard with anger. "They're scared of us," added Dr. Amy Foster, shaking her head. "After all we've done to help them, they think we're the enemy." The debate went on for hours. Some wanted to fight. Others wanted to try talking with the Council. A few suggested giving the Council what they wanted to keep the peace. But Lisa Hayes had a different idea. "We have 48 hours to respond," she said. "I know what our answer should be." The next morning, Lisa walked into the Council chambers alone. Every alien eye watched her as she moved to the human speaking platform. The great hall was quiet. Even the smallest sounds seemed loud. Lisa placed a small data pad on the platform. She looked up at the hundreds of alien faces staring down at her. Her voice was calm and clear when she spoke. "The human government has reviewed your demands. Our response is recorded on this device." She stepped back from the platform and walked toward the exit. The Council chairman, a tall creature with purple skin and 4 arms, called after her. "Ambassador Hayes, will you not read your response aloud?" Lisa stopped and turned around. "The message is clear enough. Thank you for your time." She left the chamber without another word. Behind her, alien voices rose in confusion and surprise. The Council chairman picked up the data pad with one of his 4 hands. His fingers shook as he activated it. The message appeared on every screen in the chamber. 4 simple words in the human language, followed by a translation into Galactic Standard. "We respectfully decline. Goodbye." That was all. No threats, no angry words, no long speeches about friendship or betrayal. Just a polite refusal and a farewell. Within an hour, something strange started happening. Human ships began leaving their stations. Human traders closed their shops. Human diplomats packed their belongings. Human soldiers gathered their weapons and equipment. At first, the aliens thought it was just the military forces leaving. That made sense if humans refused to surrender their ships. But then civilian transports started departing too. Human families with children. Human scientists working on joint projects. Human doctors treating alien patients in the medical centers. By the end of the first day, half the humans in Council space were gone. By the end of the second day, only a few hundred remained. They were finishing important work or helping other humans leave safely. Captain Morrison had volunteered to stay until the end. His job was to shut down the embassy and destroy any sensitive information. He worked alone in the empty building, deleting files and packing equipment. On the third day, he received a message from the transport ship waiting for him. "All humans evacuated from Council space except you, Captain. Ready for final pickup." Morrison walked through the empty embassy one last time. The human section of the space station had housed 3,000 people just a week ago. Now it was silent. The cafeteria, where humans and aliens had shared meals together, sat empty. The recreation areas where human children had played with young aliens were dark and quiet. He stopped at the main communications center. With careful movements, he activated the final shutdown sequence. One by one, the embassy systems turned off. The lights went out. The air recyclers stopped humming. The human embassy officially ceased to exist. Morrison made his way to the docking bay where his personal shuttle waited. As he climbed aboard, he took one last look at the station that had been his home for 3 years. Through the windows, he could see alien faces watching him. They looked confused and worried. The shuttle pulled away from the station and headed toward the transport ship. Morrison activated his radio and sent a message to Earth Command. Final evacuation complete. All humans successfully withdrawn from Council space. No casualties. No incidents. Operation Exodus finished. As his shuttle approached the transport ship, Morrison thought about what came next. The Council expected humans to fight or surrender. Instead, humans had chosen a third option. They had simply left. The aliens could keep their space and their rules. Humans would find somewhere else to build their future, somewhere they would be welcome as partners, not prisoners. The transport ship's doors closed behind Morrison's shuttle. Minutes later, the ship jumped to hyperspace, carrying the last humans away from Council space. Behind them, they left only empty buildings and confused aliens. The great human experiment in galactic cooperation was over. But Morrison had a feeling that an even greater experiment was just beginning. 3 months had passed since the last human ship disappeared from Council space. Chairman Vextar stood at the head of the great assembly hall, looking out at seats that seemed too empty. The human section sat dark and unused, a constant reminder of what the Council had lost. The emergency session had been called because the reports were getting worse every day. What started as minor problems had grown into major disasters. The Council members who had demanded human submission now faced a reality they had never expected. "The trade numbers are in," announced Councilor Thekra. Her crystal body flashed red with stress as she read from her data pad. Human businesses handled 68% of all trade between our worlds. Their ships carried goods to places that had no other connections. Without them, entire trade routes have collapsed. Murmurs of worry rippled through the assembly. Many council members had known that humans were good traders, but nobody had realized how much the galactic economy depended on them. Admiral Zoreth stood up from his seat in the military section. His warrior species had always been proud and strong, but now his voice carried a note of fear. "Our intelligence networks are blind. Humans provided early warning about border conflicts and enemy movements. They monitored 17 active war zones and watched 3 potential invasion routes. Without their reconnaissance ships, we don't know what's happening in our own territory." The Admiral's words hit the assembly like a cold wind. The Kravian Empire had the strongest military in Council space, but even they had relied on human information gathering. Humans had been the eyes and ears of the Council's defense system. Dr. Mel-An, the chief science officer, activated her holographic display. Charts and graphs filled the air above the assembly floor. The technological impact is even worse. Humans dominated the markets for advanced computers, medical equipment, and quantum communication devices. Other species are trying to fill the gap, but they're years behind human capabilities. She changed the display to show a map of Council space. Red dots marked worlds experiencing shortages and problems. There were too many red dots to count. The Andorian colonies can't treat their sick because human medical scanners are too complex for other species to manufacture. The Zelian mining operations have stopped because human computers controlled their automated systems. Even simple things like interspecies translation devices are breaking down without human technical support. Chairman Vextar felt his stomach twist as he listened to the reports. He had been one of the strongest voices demanding human submission. He had argued that humans were too dangerous to remain free. Now he was learning just how dangerous their absence could be. Councillor Quintal stood up in the back of the assembly. His people, the Etherians, had always been peaceful philosophers who preferred thinking to fighting. My world sent a message to the human embassy on Earth. We wanted to explain our position and ask for medical help. Do you know what we found? The assembly fell silent, waiting for his answer. Nothing. The embassy building stands empty. The human colonies in our sector are abandoned but perfectly maintained. It's as if humans planned this evacuation for years. They took everything valuable and left everything else exactly as it was. Silence in the assembly grew deeper. Several council members had sent similar messages to human worlds, only to find empty cities and vacant buildings. The humans hadn't just left council space. They had vanished completely. We've detected no human ships, no human transmissions, no human settlements anywhere in our monitored regions, continued Dr. Mellon. Either they've developed stealth technology beyond our understanding, or they've left this part of the galaxy entirely. The weight of that statement settled over the assembly like a heavy blanket. If humans had truly left the galaxy, then there was no way to contact them, no way to negotiate, no way to fix the growing problems. Young Counselor Nethak from the Traders Guild stood up with shaking hands. My people are starving. We specialized in distributing human-manufactured goods throughout the Outer Rim. Without those products, we have nothing to trade. Our economy has collapsed. We're asking the Council for emergency food supplies. Similar requests had been flooding in from dozens of worlds. Species that had built their entire economies around human trade were facing disaster. The Council's emergency funds were already running low. Admiral Zoreth brought up another troubling point. The Outer Rim territories that humans used to patrol are now overrun with pirates. Without human security forces, criminal gangs are attacking peaceful merchants and raiding defenseless colonies. 3 worlds have asked for military protection, but we don't have enough ships to cover the territory that human fleets used to guard. Chairman Vexitar looked around the assembly hall. Everywhere he saw worry and fear. The confident speeches about human danger seemed foolish now. The Council had been so focused on what humans might do that they ignored what humans actually did. Humans had been the glue that held galactic civilization together. They had connected isolated worlds with trade routes. They had provided security for peaceful species. They had shared technology that improved life for billions of beings. They had mediated conflicts and prevented wars. The Council had seen human military strength and population growth and called it dangerous. They had missed the fact that humans used that strength to protect others and that population growth to fill needed jobs throughout the galaxy. We need to face the truth, Chairman Vextar said finally. We made a terrible mistake. We demanded human submission because we feared their power, but humans weren't using their power against us. They were using it for us. He paused, looking out at the worried faces of the assembly. We've learned what human danger really looks like. It's not their presence that threatens us. It's their absence. The assembly sat in stunned silence. Many council members had opposed the ultimatum to humans, but they had been outvoted by those who feared human expansion. Now everyone was paying the price for that decision. What do we do now? Asked Councillor Thekra. Chairman Vextar didn't have a good answer. The Council had sent search parties to every known human world. They had tried to intercept human ships in deep space. They had broadcast messages on every frequency humans were known to use. Nothing had worked. We keep looking, he said. We send exploration ships to uncharted regions. We monitor space for any sign of human activity. And we hope that somewhere Out there, humans are still willing to listen to reason. But deep in his heart, Vextar knew the truth. Humans had tried reason for decades. They had worked within the council system, followed council laws, and contributed to council goals. When that cooperation was repaid with demands for submission, humans had chosen to leave. The question now was whether they would ever choose to come back. And if they did return, would they still be the helpful partners the council had taken for granted, or would they be something else entirely? As the emergency session ended and council members returned to their worlds, one thought haunted everyone: present. They had been so afraid of what humans might become that they had destroyed what humans actually were. The galaxy was learning to function without human help, but it was a harder, poorer, more dangerous place than any of them had imagined possible. 6 months after the human departure, the first star system fell into chaos. The Kepler colony had been a peaceful trading hub where 7 different species lived and worked together. Human security ships had patrolled the space around the colony, keeping pirates and raiders away. Human diplomats had helped settle disputes between the different species. Now the colony was burning. Commander Christelle of the Council Security Force stood on the bridge of her ship, watching smoke rise from the planet's surface. Her small fleet had arrived too late. The Crimson Skull pirates had already looted the main city and taken hundreds of prisoners to sell as slaves. "How many ships did they have?" she asked her censor officer. 37 attack vessels," came the reply. "We have 12. Christelle closed her eyes. Before the human exodus, this would never have happened. Human patrol fleets had kept the outer rim safe with regular sweeps and rapid response to distress calls. The pirates had known that attacking a peaceful colony would bring swift punishment from human warships. But humans were gone, and the council didn't have enough ships to replace them. Her communications officer looked up from his station. "Commander, we're receiving a transmission from the pirate flagship. They want to negotiate." "Put them through," Christelle said. The face that appeared on the main screen belonged to Captain Rex Vondor, leader of the Crimson Skull Gang. His scarred face twisted into a cruel smile. "Well, well, the council finally sent someone. A bit late, don't you think?" "Release your prisoners and surrender," Christelle demanded. "You're outnumbered," Vondor laughed. "I count 37 ships on my side and 12 on yours. Who's really outnumbered here?" His smile faded. "Here's my offer. Turn around and leave, and I won't destroy your little fleet. Stay, and I'll add your ships to my collection." Christelle knew he was right. Her 12 ships couldn't win against 37 pirates. Before, she would have called for human reinforcements. Human battle cruisers would have arrived within hours and driven off the pirates easily. Now she had no choice but to retreat. "This isn't over," she said. "Yes, it is," Vondor replied. "The humans are gone, and they're not coming back. The outer rim belongs to whoever is strong enough to take it now." Similar scenes were playing out across council space. The Vegan trade routes, once protected by human escort fleets, had become hunting grounds for pirates. The asteroid mining consortium had shut down operations because raiders kept attacking their facilities. Peaceful colonies that had relied on human protection were either abandoned or fortified like military bases. But the pirate attacks were just the beginning. On the world of Harmony, 2 species that had lived together peacefully for 50 years were now at war. The tall folk and the deep dwellers had always had minor disputes about territory and resources. Human mediators had helped them work out fair agreements that satisfied both sides. Without human mediators, the minor disputes became major conflicts. The tall folk claimed the deep dwellers were stealing water from the underground rivers. The deep dwellers accused the tall folk of polluting the air with their factories. Arguments turned into fights. Fights turned into battles. Battles turned into war. Prime Minister Dalvin of the tall folk stood in his bombed-out office reading casualty reports. 3 of his cities had been destroyed. Thousands of his people were dead. The beautiful world of Harmony had become a battlefield. "Sir," his aide said quietly, The Deep Dweller leader wants to talk. He's asking for a human mediator to help with peace negotiations. Dalvin threw the report across the room. There are no human mediators. The humans are gone. We're on our own now, the say. Aide looked confused. Then how do we make peace? Dalvin didn't have an answer. For 50 years, his people had relied on human wisdom to solve their problems. Humans had a gift for finding solutions that worked for everyone. Without them, the tall folk and deep dwellers only knew how to fight. The wars were spreading. Old enemies who had been kept apart by human diplomacy were attacking each other again. The Zorblaxian Empire invaded 3 neighboring systems, claiming they were just reclaiming historical territory. The Crystal Collective declared war on the Metalworkers Guild over a trade dispute that human negotiators could have solved in a week. In the medical sector, things were even worse. Dr. Yilath had been working at the Central Hospital on the Capital World when the plague began. It started on the Thanari homeworld and spread quickly to other planets through normal trade and travel. We need human antiviral drugs, she told the hospital director. This plague is similar to one that affected the Thanari colonies 20 years ago. Human doctors developed a cure back then. The director shook his head sadly. The human pharmaceutical companies abandoned their facilities when they left. We've tried to contact human medical researchers, but they don't answer our messages. Dr. Yilath watched through the window as more sick patients arrived at the hospital. The plague was spreading, faster than they could treat it. Human medical technology was decades ahead of what other species had developed. The medicines and equipment that humans had shared freely were now impossible to replace. On the trade world of Commerce Prime, Merchant Captain Zoltar stood in his empty warehouse. For 30 years, he had built his business around selling human-manufactured goods throughout the galaxy. Human factories produced everything from simple tools to complex computers, and they sold their products at fair prices to anyone who wanted them. Now his warehouse was empty because the humans were gone, and no other species could make the things humans had made. What are we supposed to sell? Asked his business partner, counting their dwindling credits. Zoltar looked at the bare shelves where human products had once filled every space. I don't know. Other species are trying to copy human designs, but their products are inferior and cost 3 times as much. Our customers can't afford them. The economic collapse was accelerating. The Andorian Trade Union had dissolved when their economy, built around human exports, completely crashed. The peaceful collective couldn't afford to buy food for their people because human agricultural technology had kept prices low. Even wealthy worlds were struggling because their prosperity had depended on human innovation and efficiency. Back in the council chambers, emergency sessions were being held every day. Chairman Vexitar looked older and more tired with each passing week. The reports from across council space painted a picture of civilization falling apart. 14 star systems have declared independence from the council, reported Counselor Thekra. They blame us for the human departure and want to form their own governments. 23 colonies have been abandoned due to pirate raids, added Admiral Zoreth. The military forces we have left can't protect them all. Economic collapse is spreading to the core worlds, said the trade representative. Unemployment is rising, and shortages are affecting basic necessities. Chairman Vexitar stood up slowly. He felt the weight of billions of lives on his shoulders. How did we not see this coming? How did we not understand how much we depended on humans? Counselor Quintal, who had been one of the humans' strongest critics, spoke in a broken voice. We thought humans were dangerous because they were so successful. We never realized they were successful because they made everyone else successful too. The truth was becoming clear to everyone. Humans hadn't just participated in galactic civilization. They had been the foundation that held it together. Their technology, their military, their diplomacy, their economic activity, Their medical knowledge, their ability to solve problems and mediate conflicts had been essential to everything. Without humans, the galaxy was reverting to its natural state. Species fought with each other over resources and territory. Pirates and criminals preyed on the weak. Diseases spread without advanced medical intervention. Trade networks collapsed without efficient transportation and communication. The Council had feared that humans would dominate the galaxy through force. Instead, humans had held the galaxy together through cooperation. Now that cooperation was gone, and the results were catastrophic. "We have to find them," Chairman Vextar said. "Whatever it takes, however long it takes, we have to bring the humans back." But in his heart, he knew it might already be too late. The galaxy was breaking apart, and only humans could fix it. The question was whether humans would want to help the people who had driven them away. 1 year after the human departure, the Council launched Operation Recall. Every available scout ship was sent to search the far reaches of space for any trace of human activity. Captain Rayla of the survey vessel Dawn Chaser had been looking for 3 months without finding anything useful. Her ship was exploring the void sector, a region of space that most civilized species avoided. It was far from any trade routes and contained mostly empty space between distant stars. The few worlds there were either barren rocks or gas giants with no valuable resources. "Captain," called her sensor officer, "I'm picking up something strange." Rayla looked up from her star charts. "Define strange." "Energy readings consistent with hyperdrive technology, but the signature is different from anything in our databases. It's similar to human drive patterns, but more advanced." Rayla felt her heart. "Ace, this was the first real clue anyone had found. Plot a course to intercept, maximum speed." The Dawn Chaser raced through hyperspace toward the energy signature. When they dropped back into normal space, Rayla gasped at what she saw on the main screen. A massive space station hung in the darkness, between 2 small suns. It was clearly built by humans, but it was unlike any human construction in Council records. The station was enormous, easily 10 times larger than the biggest Council facility. Strange additions and modifications covered its surface, as if different alien species had worked together to expand and improve the original human design. "Captain," her communications officer said nervously, "we're being scanned. Multiple sensor beams from different technologies." Before Rayla could respond, her ship's screens lit up with an incoming transmission. The face that appeared was definitely human, but he wore clothing and symbols she didn't recognize. "Welcome to Haven Station," the human said with a friendly smile. "I'm Administrator Alex Turner, representing the Independent Systems Alliance. Please state your business and intentions." Rayla tried to hide her excitement. "This is Captain Rayla of the Council survey ship Dawn Chaser. We're searching for human settlements on behalf of the Galactic Council. We need to speak with human leaders about urgent matters affecting our space." Alex's smile didn't change, but something shifted in his eyes. "The Galactic Council. Yes, we remember them. What kind of urgent matters?" "The galaxy is falling apart without human help," Rayla said honestly. "Wars, economic collapse, pirate raids, disease outbreaks. The Council realizes it made a mistake and wants to negotiate." Alex nodded slowly. "I see. Well, you've found humans, as you can see. But we're quite busy with our new friends here. Why don't you dock with our station, and we can discuss this properly?" As the Dawn Chaser approached the station, Rayla got a better look at the alien additions to the human structure. Some sections were clearly built by a crystalline species, with geometric patterns that sparkled in the starlight. Other areas showed the flowing organic curves preferred by aquatic races. Energy conduits pulsed with colors she had never seen before. The docking bay that received her ship was filled with vessels from dozens of unknown species. Rayla counted at least 15 different ship designs, each representing a race she had never encountered. Some ships looked like living creatures with biological hulls. Others appeared to be made of pure energy contained in force fields. Alex Turner met her at the airlock with a delegation that took Rayla's breath away. Standing behind him were representatives from species that shouldn't exist according to council knowledge. A being made of flowing liquid metal stood next to a creature that seemed to be part plant and part machine. Energy beings flickered in and out of visible light while talking with reptilian humanoids covered in gleaming scales. "Welcome aboard," Alex said. "Let me introduce some of our alliance partners. This is Director Zix Tell of the Metamorph Collective, Ambassador Vren of the Crystal Gardens, Captain Thulmore of the Deep Space Nomads, and Engineer Nashara of the Biomechanical Union." Each alien nodded or gestured in greeting. Rayla realized she was looking at species that were more advanced than anything in council space. Their technology, their presence, even their casual confidence spoke of civilizations that had surpassed the council in every way. "I don't understand," Rayla said. "Where did you find all these species? Our exploration ships have mapped this entire region." Alex chuckled. "Your exploration ships mapped the space between the stars. These folks live in places your people never thought to look. Pocket dimensions, quantum space, the gaps between realities. The galaxy is much bigger and more crowded than the council imagined." He led the group through corridors that showcased the diversity of Alliance technology. Walls that seemed solid turned out to be holographic displays showing real-time images from dozens of worlds. Transportation tubes carried beings through what looked like small portals in space. Art and music from countless cultures blended into something entirely new and beautiful. The Independent Systems Alliance now includes 43 species across 12 different dimensional layers of this galaxy, Alex explained as they walked. "Our combined territory is larger than council space, our technology more advanced, and our military considerably stronger." Rayla felt dizzy. 43 species? But how did you contact them so quickly? "Humans are good at making friends," said Director Zixtel, their liquid metal form shifting as they spoke. "When your people arrived in our dimension, they came, with open hands instead of weapons. They offered trade, knowledge, and cooperation instead of demanding submission. Very different from other species we've encountered." Ambassador Vren's crystalline body chimed musically. "The humans helped us solve a resource crisis that had threatened our civilization for centuries. In return, we shared our dimensional technology. Fair trade, mutual benefit." Captain Thulmore's scales shifted color as he spoke. "My people are nomads who travel between the stars. We had no permanent home until humans offered to build Haven Station as a meeting place for all wandering species. Now we have a true home, for the first time in 1,000 years." Rayla began to understand what had happened. When humans left council space, they hadn't retreated or hidden. They had explored beyond the boundaries of known space and discovered civilizations that the council had never imagined. Instead of trying to conquer or control these new species, humans had done what they did best. They had made friends. Alex led her to a conference room with a view of the station's central hub. Through the transparent walls, Rayla could see beings from dozens of species working together on projects she couldn't begin to understand. Human engineers collaborated with energy beings on what looked like a new type of starship engine. Crystalline mathematicians shared equations with human scientists, while plant-machine hybrids provided computational support. "We've achieved in 1 year what your council couldn't accomplish in centuries," Alex said, settling into a chair that adjusted itself to his body. "True cooperation between species with different abilities and perspectives. No ultimatums, no demands for submission, no fear-based politics." Rayla thought about the chaos consuming council space. "But surely you've heard about what's happening in our territory, the wars, the economic collapse, the suffering." Alex's expression grew serious. "We've heard. Some of our scout ships have monitored the situation. It's unfortunate." "Then why don't you help?" "People are dying." "People die in wars all the time," Alex replied calmly. The question is whether helping would actually solve the problem or just postpone it. Engineer Nashara spoke up, their voice a harmony of organic and mechanical tones. The council demanded human submission because they feared human independence. If humans return to save the council, what happens when the next crisis comes? Will the council demand submission again? Rayla realized the depth of the problem. You don't trust the council anymore. Trust has to be earned, Alex said. The council had human trust for decades. We worked within their system, followed their laws, contributed to their goals. When crisis came, the council's response was to demand our freedom in exchange for their security. He gestured toward the busy hub outside the conference room. Here, we have something better. Species that value cooperation over control. Partners who see diversity as strength rather than threat. Allies who understand that freedom and security can coexist. Rayla felt the weight of her mission pressing down on her. What would it take for humans to help the council? Alex was quiet for a long moment, consulting with the alien representatives through what looked like a telepathic link. Finally, he spoke. The Independent Systems Alliance believes in voluntary cooperation. Any species that wants to join us is welcome, provided they meet our standards. What standards? Peaceful coexistence with other member species, fair trade practices, protection of individual rights and freedoms, contribution to collective defense, and most importantly, no ultimatums. Members work together as equals, or they don't work with us at all. Rayla understood. The humans weren't offering to return to Council space. They were offering the Council a chance to join something new and better. The Council would never agree to those terms. They've ruled this part of the galaxy for too long. To accept becoming just another member, Alex smiled sadly. Then I'm afraid there's nothing we can do to help them. The Alliance doesn't negotiate with governments that refuse to treat. 2 years after humanity's departure, the Galactic Council was dying. Half the member species had withdrawn or collapsed completely. The remaining governments were desperate enough to try anything, even swallowing their pride. Former chairman, Vextar led a delegation of 12 council representatives to Haven Station. The journey through uncharted space had taken weeks, following coordinates provided by Captain Rayla. What they found at the end of their trip was both humbling and terrifying. Haven Station had grown into a massive complex that sprawled across several dimensions. New sections appeared and disappeared as Vextar watched, connected by technology he couldn't begin to understand. Ships from dozens of unknown species came and went constantly, creating a bustling center of activity that made the Council's greatest. Ports looked small and quiet by comparison. Admiral Susan Clark met the delegation at the docking bay. Vextar recognized her from old Council records. She had been a human military attaché before the Exodus, known for her sharp mind and diplomatic skills. Now she wore the uniform of the Independent Systems Alliance, with rank insignia that suggested high authority. "Welcome to Haven Station," Susan said formally. "I'm Admiral Clark, current human representative to the Alliance Council. Thank you for accepting our invitation to discuss your situation." The delegation followed her through corridors filled with wonders that challenged everything they thought they knew about technology and science. Beings made of pure thought communicated with crystalline entities through patterns of light. Machines that seemed alive worked alongside creatures that were clearly artificial but possessed obvious intelligence. "How many species are part of your alliance now?" asked Counselor Thekra, her crystal form flickering with nervous energy. 67 as of last week," Susan replied. "We're growing rapidly as more civilizations learn about our principles and decide they want to participate." Vexitar felt his stomach twist. The Council at its peak had included 47 species. The Alliance had surpassed that number and was still expanding. They were led to a vast conference chamber where representatives from the Alliance's member species had gathered. Vextar counted beings from at least 30 different races, each one unknown to Council science. Some floated in tanks of exotic gases. Others existed as patterns of energy that flickered and danced through the air. A few seemed to be living plants that communicated through changes in their leaves and flowers. At the center of the gathering sat 5 chairs for the Alliance's governing council. Susan took the seat marked with human symbols. The other chairs were occupied by a liquid metal being, a creature that looked like a small star, a plant-machine hybrid, and something that appeared to be a living mathematical equation. "Please, be seated," Susan said, gesturing to chairs that had been arranged for the council delegation. "We understand you have a proposal to make." Vexatar stood instead, his 4 arms spread in the traditional gesture of supplication. For a proud species that had ruled an empire for thousands of years, the posture was deeply humiliating, but pride was a luxury the council could no longer afford. "We come seeking reconciliation," he began, his voice carrying across the chamber. "The Galactic Council recognizes its error in demanding human submission. We understand now that our actions were based on fear rather than wisdom." Susan's expression remained neutral. "Go on." "Our space is collapsing without human contributions. Wars are spreading. Economies have failed. Billions of beings are suffering. The Council needs humanity's help to restore order and stability." Murmurs rippled through the Alliance Assembly. Some sounded sympathetic. Others carried notes of skepticism or anger. Susan leaned forward in her chair. "What exactly are you asking for?" Vextar had prepared for this moment, but the words still stuck in his throat. "We're asking humans to return to Council space, to resume their role in maintaining peace and prosperity. The Council is prepared to offer significant concessions, such as permanent seats on the ruling Council for Human Representatives, veto power over any laws affecting human interests, guaranteed autonomy for human worlds and military forces." Susan was quiet for a long moment, consulting with her fellow council members through some form of communication that the visiting delegates couldn't detect. Finally, she spoke. "Those are generous offers, but they miss the fundamental problem. The Council demanded human submission because you feared we were too dangerous to remain free. You were probably right." The Council delegation shifted nervously in their seats. "But you made one crucial mistake," Susan continued. "You assumed we needed you more than you needed us. You forgot that humans are explorers first, politicians last. When faced with an ultimatum, we don't negotiate or submit. We find a third option." She gestured around the chamber at the diverse assembly of Alliance species. "We found one. The Independent Systems Alliance now includes civilizations across multiple dimensional layers of this galaxy. Our combined resources, technology, and military power far exceed what the Council ever possessed." Vextar felt the last of his hope beginning to fade. "Then you won't help us?" "I didn't say that," Susan replied. "But we need to be clear about the terms. We're not interested in returning to the old system that failed. We're not interested in special privileges or exemptions. We're not interested in being anyone's saviors." She stood up and activated a holographic display that showed the current state of known space. The Council's territory appeared as a shrinking red zone surrounded by the blue expansion of Alliance space. The Alliance believes in voluntary cooperation between equals. Any species that wants to join us is welcome, provided they meet our standards, for peaceful coexistence and mutual respect. Susan changed the display to show a document with detailed text. "These are our membership requirements. Fair trade practices that benefit all participants. Protection of individual rights and freedoms for all beings. Contribution to collective defense against external threats. Democratic participation in Alliance decisions. And most importantly, no ultimatums between member species." She looked directly at Vextar. "Members work together as equals, or they don't work with us at all." Counselor Quintal, who had been one of humanity's harshest critics, spoke up with a broken voice. "You're asking us to give up our sovereignty, to become just another member instead of rulers. We're asking you to join a community instead of trying to control one," Susan corrected. The Alliance doesn't have rulers. We have representatives who serve their people's interests while working for the common good, the liquid metal being spoke, their voice like silver bells. Your council failed because it was built on hierarchy and fear. Our alliance succeeds because it's built on cooperation and trust. The star creature's voice sounded like solar wind. We offer partnership, not domination. Growth, not stagnation. Hope, not fear. Vextar looked around at his fellow delegates. They had come expecting to negotiate from weakness, offering concessions to bring humans back under council authority. Instead, they were being offered membership in something that had already surpassed the council in every measurable way. "What about our people who are suffering now?" he asked. "The wars, the economic collapse, the disease outbreaks?" Susan's expression softened slightly. "The Alliance provides emergency aid to any species that requests it, regardless of membership, status, medical supplies, food, security assistance. We're not monsters. We don't want people to suffer." She paused, letting that sink in. "But long-term stability requires long-term solutions. The Council's problems stem from a system that concentrated power in the hands of a few species and excluded others. Band-aid solutions won't fix structural problems." The plant-machine hybrid spoke in harmonious tones. "Join us, and your people become our people. Your problems become our problems. Your solutions become our solutions. But you must be willing to work as partners, not subjects or rulers." Vexitar realized they were at a crossroads. The council could cling to its dying authority and watch their civilization collapse completely, or they could humble themselves and join something greater than they had ever imagined. The council would need time to consider such a fundamental change, he said carefully. "Of course," Susan agreed, "but understand that the Alliance continues to grow with or without the council. Every month, more species discover us and choose to join. Every year, we become stronger and more capable." She deactivated the holographic display and sat back down. "We're not demanding an immediate answer, but we are offering a real solution to your problems. The question is whether your people are ready to embrace it." As the formal meeting ended and the council delegation prepared to return to their ship, Vextar found himself walking beside Susan through